I think a U.S. policy review must answer the following three questions. Engagement. What commitments does Washington seek from Damascus's new leaders? Sanctions. What actions are required in order to begin the process of providing expanded sanctions relief and lifting state-level sanctions on Syria? And three is the U.S. military presence. What are the necessary conditions in order for the U.S. military to transfer its counterterrorism mission in northeast Syria without risking the reemergence of ISIS? We should engage the new government in Damascus and set out a series of benchmarks to assess whether Ahmed al-Shara, Syria's unelected president who grew out of al-Qaeda, is willing and able to govern in a manner that does not further destabilize Syria and the region or threaten American interests. Examples of benchmarks: appropriate counterterrorism action against ISIS, al-Qaeda, its affiliates, and Iran-associated groups, limiting acts of violence outside the rule of law, and enabling transitional justice and accountability, holding him accountable for the transition timeline he set out himself, including drafting a new constitution, ensuring equitable representation in governance and resource distribution, and recommitting to the 1974 disengagement agreement with Israel. There is no alternative to the U.S. military and its local partner, the SDF, for the Defeat ISIS mission. The U.S. should reaffirm our commitment to maintaining U.S. forces in Syria, lest all the gains against ISIS be squandered. We should also begin consultations and planning for the conditions under which we could transfer the military mission without breathing new life into ISIS. Though the administration announced important exemptions to the assistance freeze for life-saving humanitarian aid, it is just as important. This committee has played a critical role for more than a decade in oversight of assistance to groups like the White Helmets, NGOs working at ISIS detention camps, stabilization programs in communities liberated from ISIS, and the documentation of war crimes. Cutting off programs that help communities recover after surviving the brutalities of either Assad's rule or ISIS without plans to transition funding or services to non-U.S. actors will exacerbate the drivers of conflict that will keep Syria unsafe. Moreover, the dismantling of USAID and anticipated reduction in State Department career personnel, the U.S. government risks losing critical technical expertise in implementing U.S. programs and the delicate work of engaging post-conflict countries. The United States is safer if Syria is stable and can address threats rising from within its territory without outside intervention. In turn, a more resilient Syria promotes greater security across the Middle East,